kind of seems to me that if you're moving toward wanting to sell your business, the less things that you have to explain to the potential buyer, the better. Meaning, start running your business as its own thing instead of just as your piggy bank kind of, don't pull as much money out maybe, or, so there aren't so many add backs and adjustments to what.
Yeah, this is good, Rick. What Rick is saying is if you are thinking of selling your business, all of those, what I call owner's toolbox expenses, like the building and the operating and so forth, maybe you're paying yourself a huge bonus. These would be all add backs. It might be good to start cleaning that up and add them into the system for 3 years so you can do it. I'm fine with a spreadsheet, but that should be kept in your office desk only. It shouldn't be on your P&L and mess up your P&L, okay? Because I don't want to mess up your P&L, but I want you to get credit for add backs. So what Rick is really saying is if you're thinking of selling, prepare the business to be sold. And I'm going to talk to some operating things of how to do that. So very wise counsel. Two fist butts for Rick. It's nice to have a banker checking here. This is good. Okay. Yes, sir.
So let's say you're in a growth mode. You're trying to grow, but it's going to take capital. And
yes.
Your whole business life has been using your own
self-funded,
and you just don't have the capital to grow as fast as you want to. Is it smart to borrow from a bank at some interest rate to fund that growth?
Rick is right on, because you see your capital structure. What's your bank debt to equity ratio that you like to have?
For us or for a company?
For a company, not you, for the company. Company you're going to give a loan to.
Well, it depends on what business they're in, but
just give me a rule of thumb.
You don't want it any, probably 3.
Okay, 3-to-1 equity to debt, right? Okay, so as long as you're not in the danger zone. Okay, now we're going to switch gears and talk about how to increase the value of your business through financial means, operation means, and strategic means. So I'm going to give you a couple examples. What does a convenience store have in it nowadays? Gas station with a convenience store. What's in it? Huh? Food. I was in, I forget, Columbus, I think, and somebody is now selling clothing line in their C-store. I was pretty shocked. Okay, so it used to be a gas station with maybe cigarettes and pop and some candy bars, and now you go in there and they have 100 flavors of drink. Do you know why there's 100 flavors of drink? What does a cup cost? 16 cents. What does the drink cost? 3 cents. They charge you $1.50 or $1.25. It is a cash flow dream. Now, they make about 60 to 80% of their money by getting you into the C-store. So the new ones have a video screen. You maybe get 10 seconds of CNN, and then, come on in, we've got this special. They want to get you inside. So this was 39 gas stations that didn't have really a good C-store. And so they had 2 problems. It was a third generation, and so the third generation was owed a living instead of earning a living. So they came into the office and got a check but weren't very productive. And then their assets were old. So we went to Chevron, which is a great brand in Utah, and said, how'd you like to pick up 39 gas stations? And they said, okay, that sounds cool. What do we got to do? Well, you got to pay half of the capital to turn them from this punky gas station to a big C-store. And they said, great. And the company didn't have any debt, so they went to the bank and combined with the Chevron, were able to transform 13 stations a year from a punky gas station to an awesome C-store. Now, they had $50 million in revenue and they were losing $500,000 before this process took place. After 2 years, they went to $75 million and had a net income of $2 million. 1, refurbishing of the asset, and 2, we used the productivity pyramid to increase employee accountability and productivity, which I'll get to. Now, this other one is Judy on my side. She's my GPS system, Judy. She gets me to the right place, typically. Although in Texas, they've got freeways and frontage roads and then more roads, so it's like 8 roads. Judy was always confused of where I was in Texas. She couldn't figure out whether I was on the freeway or I was on the frontage road, so I had to look ahead and figure out where I was going. But anyway, anybody in the construction industry, what do you do? Let's say you're pouring 1,000 yards. big, huge pour, or 500 yards, and you got 10 trucks. The guy dumps his truck. What's the first thing he's got to do after he dumps his concrete load?
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way. Move so the next guy can come in. No, he's got to go wash his truck. I was wandering through your neighborhoods over here, and there was a whole bunch of construction, and they had a concrete truck washout, and they had a sign going to where people could wash out. If you don't wash the truck, what happens to the truck? It'll be filled with residual concrete in about a year, and you won't be able to use it. So washing the trucks first. Then what? Now what you want them to do is come back around and get another load, right? Now I worked in this industry for 3 years, so I know what they do. They wait for their buddy to dump the truck, and then both of them would go to the coffee shop, and then they'd both come around and finally get a load. That's the model. So this was a 4-year study. They tracked the trucks, and they found out they got one more load per day per truck by tracking them and having them come around and get a load faster, all right? So it costs $6,000 a truck. So if I have 100 trucks, I'm looking at an investment of $600,000. This company was only doing $250,000 a year, and we're trying to figure out why people didn't want to use this device. We put together a little break-even calculator. Has anybody done capital budgeting? What's a good break-even for a capital budget project? Do you know? How many years?
3 years.
How many?
3.
3. So at Utah Power, we would get about 150 projects. We would draw a line at a 2-year break-even, and then we'd look at it from there. So somewhere between 2 and 3 years is a good time for capital budget refurbishing, getting your money back. So we'd put this break-even calculator. You put in $100 a yard, $55 for raw materials, $40 for the truck driver. You got 100 trucks, $6,000. What do you suppose the break-even was for this little investment? 20 to 90 days on everything that we did. That means you got your money back within 20 days to 90 days. Before the ink was even dry. Would you do that project? Yeah. Absolutely. They sold the company for $20 million 2 years later because of a break-even calculator. All right. We talked about the tax versus value. Remember the owner's toolbox? So we want to make sure we keep track of that. If we're going to sell, we want to start tracking the value of add-ons. All right? Now, somebody talked to me about recurring revenue. It's over here, right? I'm going to give you an example of value of a recurring revenue. Who knows the spa industry or the workout industry, like a Gold's Gym or a 24-Hour Fitness or an LA Fitness? What's the turnover annually in the customers in a fitness center? 20%? 80%? Okay, it's between 40 and 60%. So if you go into the place in January, can you find a machine? Can't find a machine. Go in May, you can find a machine. So about 40 to 60%, they have to get new people every year. So I was speaking in Minneapolis, and this lady came up to me and says, "Hey, Dale, I have no reoccurring revenue because I have to have them sign a contract every year." And I says, "Okay, what's your renewal rate?" 95%. In an industry that is 40 to 60%, what did her value turn? You look at this curve over here, 95% is guaranteed, right? Reoccurring revenue is golden, 2 to 3x. If you can reoccur revenue looking at that future, right? It's almost guaranteed. So it's.
What period of time, though?
Huh?
What do they classify reoccurring revenue versus 6 months reoccurring on a subscription basis, 12 months? What would be considered?
Well, what do they do for your cell phone? It's a 2-year contract. Typically, there's some that they're doing month to month, but typically they'll give you a free upgrade or cheap. You can buy a $600 phone for $50 because they get renewal of a 2-year contract, which is the annuity, and that money right there that they get for 2 years is 2 years of a solid graph, right? Absolutely. So reoccurring revenue, you look at the recurring revenue compared in your industry. If you have a higher rate, it's worth more.